Hello agus fáilte go lesson ag a dhéag. Hello and welcome to lesson 12. Hasho na shear. This is better. In this lesson we're going to be looking at comparatives, cognizant, and talking about things that are better or worse or longer or shorter, and also seeing which is the best thing, the longest, the fastest. So comparative or graded adjectives allow us to define qualities of things in relation to others. In English, you typically add er to make short, shorter. So you take an adjective short and say that it's shorter, more short, and est gives us the superlative or the most short is the shortest. So all languages also have irregular adjectives. So if you think of the English good but better, so it's not good or goodest, it's good, better, best, bad, badder, baddest, it's bad, worse, worst. So there are irregular adjectives here where the comparative forms are significantly different from the base adjective. So Gaelic uses nas before the adjective, where English uses the er after. So nas is the equivalent of the er. And Gaelic uses as before the adjective, where English uses est. So as before gives us the most whatever of the thing. So like with English, it is the more common adjectives that tend to be regular. So good and bad, obviously, we have ma, nasjar, asjar. So you can see that the yar is completely different from ma as the base adjective. Good, better, best. Ma, nasjar, asjar. And likewise with English, bad, worse, worst. In Gaelic, we have donna, nasmissa, and asmissa. So bad, donna, worse, nasmissa, but worst, asmissa. So, hasho ma, this is good. Hasho ma, hasho ma, hashin nishyar. So this is good, that is better. Ha shin nishyar. But if we want to use best, we need to use she in the sentences. So she, should ishyar. And here, sho, shin, should doesn't really matter what the object is in here. It's just an example. This, that, and that over there. So hasho ma, hashin nishyar. She should ishyar. So you have to use a slightly different sentence structure to say that it's the best thing. Obviously, if something's the best, if it's the most of anything, then there's emphasis involved. You're making a claim that this is the most of anything. Therefore, it's a she sentence. So just to explain that, generally as in the example above, you need to use she with as and ha with nas. Things that are most anything, best, worst, are seen to require emphasis. So they only work with she. Anye sho ishyar. Is this best? Anye sho ishyar. And then obviously anye, the answer would be she, chanye. So that's just introducing the two most common irregular, ma, nishyar, asyar, donna, nismissa, asmissa. But what is the rule with regular adjectives? So basically what we do to form a comparative adjective from a regular adjective is to slenderize the end of the word if it's broad and add an E. So that's in addition to using nas or as to give you the more or most of the thing. So in addition to adding that before the adjective, we also slenderize the adjective itself and add an e. So ha and tai seo na sinne. Sé Martin as airste. So we can see here nas sinne, older, and that's coming from shen. And you may think that that looks rather irregular there. We've had shen become shinye, but that's basically because the EA sound in shen is one sound, and given that it's broad as the final vowel, we need to change that vowel sound to a slender sound. And because the EA are pronounced as one vowel sound, the way to do that is to turn both these vowels into a slender one, so E, and then we add the E at the end. So we do see that with some of the shorter adjectives where we have like a single vowel sound and it's a broad ending, they need to be changed, and just they appear to change more because they're so short, basically. It can be hard to recognize what the original adjective was, even though they're following the regular rules. So there are a few like that. Here we can see airst, tall, sé Martin is airste. Martin is tallest. So all we've done here, A is the first and last vowel, so we've added an I to slenderize that. A-I-R-D, and then we've added the E on the end. So this is the regular pattern. And it doesn't matter if that's as shinye or nas shinye, nas airste, as airste. With regular adjectives then, the end of the word needs to be slenderized if it's broad. So some will already be slender and therefore you won't need to change them. And the addition of an E at the end. So some examples here. We have Jerak, Jerak, and that goes to as or nas. Jerike, Jerak, nas Jerike. So we can see here, because there's this helping vowel, the sparavakti or epenthetic vowel. So we have jerak. This word is 2 syllables and it's jerak. Therefore, we can just replace the A with an I and add the E. That's jerike. So if it's just a kind of 1 syllable shorter word, you may see a more substantial change than one where it's jerak, 2 syllable. Fate, long. So hopefully we'll remember jerak is red. Fate, long. Nasaja, longer. So here F lenites in the comparative when it's before a vowel and then becomes silent. So FHA, we just ignore the FH. Nasaja, fate nasaja. And that could be said as a phrase, fate nasaja, far longer. Fate nasaja, nasaja. Garav, garav, rough. Nasgareve, nasgareve, garav, nasgareve, rougher. Og, nasoike, og, nasoike. Chew, chew. Og, obviously young. Chew, chew, thick, thick or fat, chew. This actually has 2, so correctly, chew it's the IU, it's a one syllable, so it should follow the Nishinya pattern and become Nischia. So the IU collapsing to a single I, Nischia. But you also see it written Nischia. So that's rather than collapsing, adding an extra I. So you will see both correctly. It should be Nischia. Likewise with vloeg, vloeg, wet. It's a similar pattern. So vloeg, one syllable IU vowel in the middle should become nasvliegje. The same as naschia, nasvliegje. But this is often written just following the more regular pattern, leaving the IU in place, nasvliegje. So you're just leaving the IU sound before. So you wouldn't be marked down for using either of these, and you will definitely see both. Voer, cold, voer. Nasuurde, so again FH before a vowel, F before a vowel becomes FH, which is silent. So nasuurde, voer, nasuurde. Gal, gal, again colours, Jerag is red, gal is white. Nasgille, gal, nasgille. So like shen, nashinje, the EA is becoming an I and an E on the end. So looks a bit different. Gal, gille. So ur, new, nasure, nasure. So regular, new, newer. Largest, strong. Naslagere, largest, naslagere. Sometimes largest is given as an irregular, and nastresse is given as the comparative version of that. But that's a kind of conflation. Train, nastresse is the pairing larger, naslagere. But you will see that in some teaching resources given as nastresse. But I would just follow largest, naslagere, follow a regular pattern. Kienchach, certain, kiench, kienchach, certain. Nas kienchiche. So here we're seeing some longer words, and with longer adjectives like kienchach, you can see that the kiench is certainty, so that part of the word remains. EACH is just making it an adjective. Here we can see CINNT, kiench, remains, and we've just changed the adjective ending to a comparative ending. So in a way, the longer the word, the more obvious it is that this is the comparative version of it. And some shorter ones you may find at first that you're noticing the difference between these more. But most regular, longer adjectives, kienchach, nas kienchiche, salach, nas saliche, savach, nas saviche, braunach, nas brauniche. So the longer the words, the more straightforward this is to do. And the other thing to remember when you're starting out, if you're aiming to use the language to speak, then really it's the concept of slenderizing. You're making the sound kienchach, nas kienchiche. So just remember when you're using as or nas, you make the sound slender at the end. So salach, nas saliche. And you know, obviously in speech that's easier to do than working out how the vowels work out. like EA becoming a single I here, but with these A's just additional I, that type of thing in speech. Cínteach nas cíntiche, salach nas saliche. You can do that without thinking too much about it in speech, just slenderize the word. So, additionally to good and bad, as we've already seen, there are some other irregular adjectives which you will come across. So here's a wee selection. We've already seen ma, and that follows nasadje, nasure, nasyar. So nasyar, FH silent. We also looked at donna, bad, donna, nasmisse, worse, nasmisse. Beg, and here we're given two choices as well. This is often just treated as a regular adjective and given like gyal and shen, beg, nasbigge. But you'll often see this very commonly as nasluga. Beg, nasluga, smaller. Nasluga. More, big, great. More, nasmore. Nasmore. More, nasmore. Bigger, greater. And you'll see here this kind of irregularity is common for a few different words. Che, nas choa. Lehen, nas lehe. So che, hot, nas choa, hotter. Lehen, wide or broad, nas lehe. Lehen, nas lehe, broader, wider. Gyrich, nas gyre. Gyrich, short, nas gyre, shorter. Fyriste, easy, fyriste. Again, F and a vowel, so nasase. Nasase. Fyriste, nasase. Ha björle, fyriste, ach ha galig, nasase. Didiv, difficult. Nasdide. Didiv, nasdide. You also see this just didiv, nasdidive, just adding the E. Again, either of these. Dilich. Dilich is sorry, but also difficult. Sorry in the difficult sense. Nasdide. Nasdide. So nasdide can stand in for either of these, meaning more difficult. But the definite dulich, nas dulige. Again, there's a bit of conflation goes on between these two. I would use didiv nas dide and dulich nas dulige for sorrier. Train. Train. Train is a similar meaning to largeth, strong, perhaps more in a heroic sense. Train nas tresse. Nas tresse, stronger. And that's the one that's sometimes conflated with largeth because the meaning's similar. Traum. Traum. Heavy. Traum. Nas trimme. Here we see the vowel changing, so traum, nas trimme. Again, a UI plus the E. So there are some of the common irregular adjectives and their comparatives. So how do we ask about these? How do we ask what is bigger, faster? Comhachta as. So if we want to ask between things, which is the fastest, which is the biggest, then we use this. Comhachta as trimmer. Comhachta as lehe. Comhachta as fheàrr. So we can ask questions about people or things using comparative adjectives in a number of ways. Firstly, to ask which of a selection is most of anything. Fastest, biggest, etc. We use comhachta, which of them is fastest. Which of them is fastest. So we can also ask co as luia, so who or which is fastest. Co as luia, which is fastest. Fheàrr, no, and slíochnaigh. So which is faster, the hare or the tortoise? Co as luia. Fheàrr, no, and slíochnaigh. So that would give us the choice of picking one and saying that it's the fastest. And for that, we would need to use sé. So, sé fheàrr as luia, the hare that's fastest. We could ask this question in a slightly different way using fheàrr. Fheàrr fheàrr nas luia na and slíochnaigh. So here we're asking, is the hare faster than the tortoise? So here we're using the superlative, the most fast, and here we're using the comparative, more fast. Co as luia, which is fastest. So we're having to pick one. Here we're being asked, is fheàrr fheàrr nas luia na and slíochnaigh? So to ask which is faster, bigger, from a pair in Gaelic you use the superlative, which is the fastest, biggest, and this needs sé in the answer. Co as luia, fheàrr, no, and slíochnaigh, which is the fastest, the hare or the tortoise. Sé fheàrr as luia, it's the hare that's fastest. So with fheàrr, obviously that's just a ha or chaniel. If you're being asked a question, fheàrr fheàrr nas luia na and slíochnaigh, we can say ha fheàrr nas luia. So fheàrr, ha. If you don't think that, if you know the story and that it's the slíochnaigh that wins, we could say chaniel, ha and slíochnaigh nas luia. So here's some vocabulary for animals. We saw there and slíochnaigh, the tortoise. Fheàrr, hare, fheàrr, the hare. Each, horse, and deach, the horse. Eich. Cheetah, and cheetah. Sometimes these are useful to see how a word, a word that's in use in English. I'm sure cheetah probably came from the African language that encountered cheetahs more regularly than English speakers, but it's interesting to see how that is represented in Gaelic orthography and Gaelic spelling. So even though the difference can seem trivial, it's good to get an idea of how you represent sounds in Gaelic. So an cheetah, luch, mouse, and luch, You can also add ag to make it like a wee mouse, which is often used. Luchak and luchak, the mouse. Cat, we've had before. Cat and cat. Coo and coo, the dog. Coo and coo. Another one like cheetah. There weren't many giraffes in Scotland, so giraffe, giraffe and giraffe. Panda, again the spelling works, like Canada, so panda, just use it as it is, panda. But for a regular type of bear, mahan, 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 the bear, mahan. A polar bear, mahan ban, ban being white, mahan ban, the polar bear. Leimeder, leimeder, and leimeder. And some of you may know lame is jump, so leimeder is a jumper, which is what dolphins do. Lame, leimeder. Madagali is a wolf. Madagali, the wolf. Madag is the Gaelic word for a hound, so coo is dog, madag is hound. So Madag Ali is like a wild or ferocious hound. Shinach, Shinach, and Shinach, the fox, Shinach. You also see fox given as Madag Ruag, so a red hound, Madag Ruag. But Shinach, I think, suits a fox, and Shalta is sly, cunning, and there's a saying, Cho Shalta Ri Shinach, and that works quite well. Shalta Shinach, sly fox. Mook, pig, mook. Vuk, the pig. So we can have a chat about the following animals and ask questions and describe them using the comparative adjectives that we've seen. We can use ko-ach, as, if we want to ask a question about a pair. Ko-as, we could ask who is fastest, ko-as, and give a choice. Or we can ask the question, evel, evel, something faster or bigger or whatever than something else, ha chania. So we have a range of animals. And if you're in a class or working with a pair, as always, you can pause and have a go at asking these questions, just picking the animals, asking, are they bigger, faster, taller, smaller, wetter, colder? We can use a number of the adjectives, comparative adjectives that we've seen to ask about these animals. So I'll just go through and give some examples. So we've already seen ko, as luie, igar, no, and schlickenach. She, igar, as luie. Ach, evel, and cheetah, nas luie, na, and jech. Ha mi smunjachuk gevel. Ha mi smunjachuk gevel and cheetah nas luie, na, and jech. I think that the cheetah is faster than the horse. Evel and jech nas moa na an cú. Ha mi cínteach, I'm certain ha mi cínteach go bhfuil an deach nas mór na an cú, that the horse is bigger than the dog. Cóachcha is mór na ha. Cóachcha is mór. Sé an cat is mór. Ha an cat nas mór na an luchach. So that's combining the sentence structures. Cóachcha is mór. Which of them is bigger? So firstly you say sé an cat is mór. It's the cat that's biggest. And then switching to ha an cat nas mór, the cat is bigger, na an luchach. The cat is bigger than the mouse. So the cat is biggest, the cat is bigger than the mouse. So cóachcha nas flíche. Cóachcha is flíche. Sé, so có as flíche. An léimitir nó an slikenach. Sé an léimitir as flíche. Có as flíche. Which is wetter? An léimitir nó an slikenach. The dolphin or the tortoise. Sé an léimitir as flíche. It's the dolphin that's wetter because ha it's an uisce. He's in the water. Agus ha essen gema chidum. He's very dry. Gema chidum. Có as úrde maha. Có as úrde am mahan ban no am mahan. Có as úrde am mahan ban no am mahan. Sé am mahan ban as úrde. Ha am mahan ban nas úrde na am mahan. The polar bear is colder than the bear. Có as airste. Có as airste. An giraffe no an panda. Sé an giraffe as airste. The giraffe is tallest. Sé an giraffe as airste. The giraffe is tallest. Ha an giraffe nas airste na an panda. Bhfuil an cat nas luga na an cheetah. Bhfuil an cat nas luga or nas bigge, smaller, nas bigge, nas luga na an cheetah. Ha an cat nas luga na an cheetah. So that's some examples of how we compare things. So we just need to remember that it's sé as luga. It's fastest if we're using est, est, so as in a Gaelic, as fheàrr, as luga, as luga. Then we need to use sé to introduce the statement. If we're using nas, then we use ha, bhfuil, and make a comparison between the two things. So this also allows us to make a common and useful construction. Often we say the bigger the better, the quicker the harder, the whatever, the shorter the better, this type of thing. So in Gaelic that works out as mar as moa saun a fheàrr. So mar as something, saun as something. Mar as luie, saun as dure. The quicker, the harder. That could be somebody speaking Gaelic. The quicker, the harder to understand. Mar as luie, saun as dure. Mar as moa, saun a fheàrr. So lastly, we have a dialogue, and as always, I will read through the dialogue and then go back through line by line and translate. So again, if you're with a partner or working in a class, you can take turns reading these through yourselves and translate. And if you want to have a go at translating before I give away the answers, then you can pause the video to do so. So, Alistair and Callum. Hello, Callum. Cymera how? Evelyn Nishad Inish. Hi, Alistair. Hami a Kretchen Gevelmi Nishad Taplat. Gleva. En je sin in kraten is misse of our stumbliana. She gejeraf. Agus va adam nas adje into the show kidjach. Is bach sin. Hamishin is larger than the vamidiev. Hanamishin is choan of ai kidjach nachel. Nach puyut. Well, ha ach hain is flieke geta. How kjarst hain is flieke. Agus ha gu nas larger the kidjach. She studde ma haun choolemi. Jane hanema hodde diest. Choolemischishin kidjach. Agus hamias mountain and choolemi gede kiere and hanem haiden storm into the shop. Anyam ere noch gediest. Well, hashin nisjaar na anyam allebenoch na saliche a choolemi unteres. So, hello Callum, Cymera how? Hello Callum, how are you? Evel u nishar inish. Are you better now? Hi Alistair, ha mi a kretchen gevelmi nishar taplat. Hi Alistair, I believe I am better. Thank you. Gleva, en je sin in graten is misse of arstenbliana. Very good. Is that the worst cold that was on you this year? So is that the worst cold you had this year? She gejedav. So she, it is indeed. Agus vai adam nasadje into the shokidjach. And I had it longer this time too. Isbach shin, that's a pity. Ha mission is larger than the vamidiev. I'm stronger than I ever was. A wee boast. Alistair's doing fine. Ha namishith nes choan of I kidjach nachel. So the weather is hotter than it was as well, isn't it? Nach buyut. So this is in response to Hamina slagere na vamidiev. Nach buyut. Aren't you fortunate? Well, ha ach hain is flikikata. Ha hain is choa. Ach hain is flike. But it's wetter, however. How karst. You're right. Hain is flike. I guess ha egu nes lage the kujach. So you are right, you're correct. It is wetter. And the wind is stronger as well. She studde ma haun cholemi. It's a storm, I heard. Jay and Hannah mahode a diest. what is her name? So the storm is feminine. Jane Tanna Mahoda Idiest. What's her name? What's its name again? Chula Mishishin Kuchach. So Alistair heard also that it's a storm. Chula Mishishin Kuchach. I heard that too. Agus Hamias Munchin Gun Chulami. And I am thinking that I think I heard G'day, that it is Kira and Hanum. I didn't study and did it show. So I think I heard that it is Kira, that the name that is on the storm this time. I think I heard that the storm's name is Kira this time. Anyam Éireannach Idiest. Another Irish name. So Kira was a storm that followed Brendan, if I remember correctly. So there was 2 Irish named storms in a row. Well, Hashin na Shar na Anyam Alabanach na Salich a Cholami into this. Well, that's better than a dirtier Scottish name I heard one time. And I'll leave people to find out what that name was themselves. This was before they started naming storms in the UK and Scotland. So that's a cultural reference, which I'll not get into here. Ispach Shin, that's poor, that's a pity. Nach Buye youth, aren't you lucky? So Buye, we saw Jerag Gal in this lesson already, red and white. Hopefully we remember that Buye is yellow. Nach Buye youth. Isn't it yellow for you? Which means aren't you lucky? And Sturm, which we saw was feminine, storm. We saw Chula come up in this lesson, which we didn't cover in the first 5 irregular verbs. I had previously covered that before this lesson, but I've changed the order of the lessons. So you'll have to bear with me in this dialogue that Chula is heard, irregular past tense, which we'll see in a few lessons' time. So, Shinagade and Tadisha. That's it for this time. Genach leave and